Yeah, Hemangmati, whenever you're ready, you can start, Mati.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Today we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9, text 34 to 44. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudir. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिके. Text 34. From the great lotus flower, Brahma was generated, but Brahma certainly could see nothing but the lotus. Therefore, thinking you to be outside, Lord Brahma dove into the water and attempted to find the source of the lotus for 100 years. He could find no trace of you. However, for when a seed fructifies, the original seed cannot be seen. 35. Lord Brahma, who is celebrated as Atmayoni, having been born without a mother, was struck with wonder. Thus he took shelter of the lotus flower, and when he had been purified after undergoing severe austerities for many hundreds of years, he could see that the causes of all causes, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was spread throughout his own body and senses, just as aroma, although very subtle, is perceived in the earth. Lord Brahma could then see you possessing thousands and thousands of faces, feet, heads, hands, thighs, noses, ears, and eyes. You are very nicely dressed, being decorated and bedecked with varieties of ornaments and weapons. Seeing you in the form of Lord Vishnu, your symptoms and from being transcendental. Your legs extending from the lower planets, Lord Brahma achieved transcendental bliss. My dear Lord, when you appear as Hayagriva with the head of a horse, you killed two demons known as Madhu and Kaitava, who were full of moods of passion and ignorance. Then you delivered the Vedic knowledge to Lord Brahma. For this reason, all the great saints accept your forms as transcendental, untinged by material qualities. Text 38. In this way, my Lord, you appear in various incarnations as a human being, an animal, a great saint, a demigod, a fish, or a tortoise, thus maintaining the entire creation in different planetary systems and killing the demoniac principles. According to the age, O my Lord, you protect the principle of religion. In the age of Kali, however, you do not assert yourself as the supreme personality of Godhead, and therefore you are known as Tri Yuga, or the Lord who appears in three yugas. My dear Lord of the Vaikuntha planets, where there is no anxiety, my mind is extremely sinful and lusty, being sometimes so called happy and sometimes so called distressed. My mind is full of lamentation and fear, and it always seek more and more money. Thus, it has become more polluted and is never satisfied in topics concerning you. I am therefore most fallen and poor. In such a status of my life, how shall I be able to discuss your activities? Text 40. My dear Lord, O infallible one, my position is like that of a person who has many wives, all trying to attract him in their own way. For example, the tongue is attracted to palatable dishes, the genital to sex with an attractive woman, and the senses of touch to contact with soft things. The belly, although filled, still wants it more, and the ear, not attempting to hear about you, is generally attracted to cinema songs. The sense of smell is attracted to yet another side. The restlessness eyes are attracted to the scene of the sense gratification, and the active senses are attracted elsewhere. In this way, I am certainly embarrassed. My dear Lord, you are always transcendentally situated on the other side of the river of death. But because of the reaction of our own activities, we are suffering on this side. Indeed, we have fallen into this river and are repeatedly suffering the pains of birth and death and eating horrible things. Now kindly look upon us, not only upon me, but also upon others who are suffering, and by your causeless mercy and compassion, deliver us and maintain us. O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, original spiritual master of the entire world, what is the difficult for you, who manage the affairs of the universe in delivering the fallen soul engaged in your devotional service? You are the friend of all suffering humanity, and for great personality it is necessary to show mercy to the foolish. Therefore, I think you will show your causeless mercy to person like us who engage in your service. O best of the great personalities, I'm not at all afraid of material existence, for however I stay, I am fully absorbed in thoughts of your glories and activities. My concern is only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their family, societies, and countries. I am simply concerned with love for them. Text 44. My dear Lord Nrsimhadev, I see that there are many saintly persons indeed, but they are interested only in their own deliverance, not caring for the big cities and towns. They go to the Himalayas or the forest to meditate with vows of silence, Maunavrata. They are not interested in delivering others. As for me, however, I do not wish to be delivered alone. Leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals, I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to shelter at your lotus feet. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I'll just offer Mangalacharan prayers and then we'll start discussing. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टकी ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्तस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So we are continuing with the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. In text 34, Sri Prahlad Maharaj is telling, From the great lotus flower, Brahma was generated, but Brahma certainly could see nothing but the lotus. Therefore, thinking you to be outside, Lord Brahma dove into the water and attempted to find the source of the lotus for 100 years. We saw this in the earlier cantos, and Lord Brahma couldn't trace out by all his means. Even he is the most intelligent being in this entire creation, but he could not find the trace of the Lord. When Srila Prabhupada writes, when the cotton is transformed into thread and cotton is no longer visible, and when the thread is woven into cloth, the thread is no longer visible. Srila Prabhupada is giving analogy. Similarly, we cannot find Krishna by our blunt material eyes, like Srila Prabhupada often says. Similarly, it is perfectly correct that when the seed that had generated from the navel of Garbhodakasha Vishnu became manifested as a cosmic creation, one could no longer understand where the cause of cosmic material manifestation is. So Srila Prabhupada is saying that scientists create so many theories, Big Bang theory, that everything came from a big chunk of matter. But Prabhupada is saying, in other words, in terms of the chunk theory, which is the Big Bang theory, the bursting of the chunk was caused by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, one must accept the Supreme Cause, Lord Vishnu, as the cause of all causes. This understanding we must have as aspiring devotees, that Krishna is the cause of all causes. If somebody asks how do we define God, this is the definition of God. Janma Dyasya Yataha. Bhagavatam right from the first verse gives us the definition of who is God. And Sri Prahlad Maharaj is remembering how great his Ishtadev, Lord Narasimhadev is. And in text 35, he continues that Lord Brahma, who is celebrated as Atma Yoni, having been born without a mother, was struck with wonder. Thus he took shelter of the lotus flower, and when he had been purified after undergoing severe austerities for many 100 years, he could see the cause of all causes. This is very important. Srila Prabhupada will write that in the purport. Srila Prabhupada again quotes that Aham Brahmasmi, interpreted by the Mayavadis, that I am Supreme Lord, is not correct. Because Lord Vishnu is the original seed of everything. Like Srila Prabhupada mentions, right? Janma Dasya Yataha, the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam and the Brahma Sutras. Thus, the Supreme Lord extends everywhere, even throughout our bodies, because our bodies are made of material energy, which is Krishna's separated energy. This is so subtle, right? How often do we understand that our body also belongs to Krishna? When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in Jagannath Puri, and with Mahaprabhu's permission, Srila Haridas Thakur is sitting in Siddhabakul, and he is chanting the holy names with so much absorption and love. But he is feeling so sad that he cannot go and take darshan of Lord Jagannath. And that same Jagannath is coming every day to give darshan to Srila Haridas Thakur. But Mahaprabhu, when he first time goes and visits Jagannath Puri, at a very far distance, he sees the chakra on the top of the temple of Jagannath temple, and he offers obeisances. And our acharyas comment why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does this. Because Mahaprabhu considers that the temple and the chakra of Lord Jagannath is non-different from Jagannath. Simply by seeing the chakra, he remembers Jagannath. My Guru Maharaj, he says that our body is also considered to be temple. That is the reason why we offer obeisances to devotees. Yes, we offer respects to devotees, but the main principle is we are offering respects to Krishna sitting within the heart of the devotee. Like His Holiness Bhakti Vasudeva Maharaj, he came and narrated this story, right? Why do we need to offer obeisances? He explained his experience with the sannyasi. Maharaj, why you are offering obeisances to me? I am just a brahmachari. But that Maharaj said, I am not offering obeisances to you. So, Srila Prabhupada is saying, Krishna, our body also belongs to Krishna. That is why we are applying tilak on our body. One should realize that since Krishna spreads throughout one's body, since the individual soul is part of Krishna, everything is Brahman. Sarva kalam idam Brahma. Everything is Brahman. Even our body belongs to Krishna. So we have to utilize our body in the service of Krishna, not for anything else. When one is completely in knowledge of Aham Brahmasmi, that I am part of Krishna, that is the right understanding Prabhupada is giving. My body is made of his material energy, therefore I have no separate existence. Yet, although Krishna is spread everywhere, he is different from me. This we need to understand. Just because our body belongs to Krishna doesn't mean that we become Krishna. That Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very clearly made us understand that we belong to Krishna and Krishna has a separate existence. We have our separate existence. Like Krishna also mentions in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita only that you and I existed always separately. Prabhupada gives a very punching purport in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita for that verse. So this we need to understand that the Lord and the Jivatmas, we are Vibhinamsha. We are separated energy. And Krishna is, and his expansions are Swamsha expansions. They are not different from Krishna, but we are Vibhinamsha. We are separated expansions. That understanding we should always have. And in the end, Prabhupada writes that an intelligent man can see the Supreme Lord existing everywhere. Andantarastha Paramanu Chayantarastam. The Lord is within the universe and within the atom by his different energies. This is the real vision of the Supreme Lord for the intelligent man. And who is this intelligent man? This intelligent man is a Uttamadhikari devotee. Only a Mahabhagavad devotee like Srila Prabhupada and his disciples can actually have this vision of seeing Krishna everywhere. Doesn't mean that they go and sit in a room with a microscope and actually looking at every atom. No. Every living entity they see as a manifestation of Krishna. Because they see Krishna in every living entity. Right? The other day when His Grace Amrendra Babu, he was saying that it is not easy to become even a tree in Vrindavan. What to speak of aspiring for high things. Right? How often do we give respect to a tree in Vrindavan? Uttamadhikari Mahabhagavad devotee offers respects to every living entity because they see Krishna in every living entity. Brahma, the first created being, became the most intelligent person by his tapasya and austerity. This is what Prahlad Maharaj mentions. Because tapasya or austerity is necessary. It is not the goal of bhakti, but it is necessary to purify us. Srila Prabhupada time and again writes, we need to rise up early in the morning, chant in the association of devotees, offer arati, worship deities. Everything has to be done. This is an austerity. It is not easy to get up in the morning. Right? But this has to be done to purify us. Because Brahma did that. Because Brahma is showing us as an acharya that he is the most intelligent person in this world. To be Brahma is not an ordinary joke. But he couldn't trace out Krishna. He couldn't. But he performed austerities for so many years. And Lord Vishnu himself tells, when he gives darshan in the second canto, we see that he says, I am pleased by your austerities. The austerities we actually undertake is to please Krishna. Anything and everything we do in bhakti is to please Krishna. Dry austerity will make our heart hard. In text 36, Lord Brahma could then see you possessing thousands and thousands of faces, feet, heads, hands, thighs, noses, ears, and eyes. Srila Prabhupada writes, Lord Brahma, being completely pure, could see the original form of Lord Vishnu. Prabhupada writes something for us to meditate. Unless and until our heart is completely pure, we will not get darshan of Krishna. Prabhupada writes, the goal of bhakti is to see Krishna face to face. But we haven't seen Krishna. We have not had darshan of Krishna. Why? Because our heart is not pure yet. Prabhupada writes, even a tinge of material desire is there in our heart, we will not have darshan of Krishna. Not possible. Sri Narottam Das Thakur writes in a bhajan, right? Vishaya chadiya kabe shuddha beman kabe hama heri boshri vrindavan. When will I mind? Well, when will my mind become completely pure? Then we will be able to see Vrindavan. We may go to Vrindavan, but actually, are we seeing Vrindavan? No, we are not. So Prabhupada writes, we have to be completely pure, like Lord Brahma. Then Krishna will reveal himself to us. We cannot force Krishna to appear, but Krishna will reveal himself to us. Prabhupada writes, this process is called self-realization. This is self-realization. Self-realization means, Prabhupada writes, not seeing the Brahma Jyoti, but seeing Krishna face to face. And Prabhupada writes, in the end, upon being purified, Brahma could see the supreme form of the Lord. The impersonal Brahman cannot have heads, noses, ears, hands, and lips. Krishna is a person. This is not possible, for these are the attributes of the Lord's form. Prabhupada writes that Krishna has a form. He is not simply some light. That is his external feature. But the actual feature of Krishna is he has a form. And then, without such form, Prabhupada writes, no one can be blissful. That without actually having such a form, because Krishna is Rasovai Saha, he experiences bliss by exchanging loving reciprocation with his devotees. Because if something is just light, how can it experience some kind of ananda? Not possible. Right? In this material world also we see that if a child comes and gives something to the parents, or the parent exchanges something with the child, there is bliss, perverted reflection of the actual bliss, but there is some ananda in this world, but it's temporary. But because only a mundane jada vidya, a jada object cannot experience bliss, not possible. A light and another light in another room cannot experience bliss. That is what Srila Prabhupada is saying. Without such a form, no one can be blissful. The Lord, however, is Satchidananda Vigraha. When one is perfect, when one is in perfect transcendental bliss, he can see the supreme form. And Lord Brahma was able to see. And Prahlad Maharaj continues in text 37, my dear Lord, when you appeared as Hayagriva with the head of horse, you killed two demons, Madhu and Kaitaba, who were full of modes of passion and ignorance. Then you derived the Vedic knowledge to Lord Brahma. For this reason, all the great saints accept your forms as transcendental, untinged by material qualities. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his transcendental form is always ready to give protection to his devotees. We need to have this conviction within us. No matter what, Krishna is there to protect us. I am still a conditioned soul, Krishna, but I have this full faith that you will protect me no matter what. This is one symptom of surrender to Krishna. Avashya Rakshibe Krishna Vishwasa Palana. That whatever happens, Krishna, I am so conditioned, I have so many tendencies within my heart, but still I want to please you, I want to please you. Whatever happens, I have full faith that you will protect me. That is a symptom of surrender. Prabhupada writes further in the purport, unfortunately, those uninterested with distributing Vedic knowledge, such as the devotees engaged in spreading Krishna consciousness, may also sometimes be attacked by demons, but they must be rest assured that the demoniac attacks will not harm them, for the Lord is always spread to give them protection. We have seen several instances, even within Srila Prabhupada's International Society for Krishna Consciousness, throughout the scriptures, wherever there is demoniac people trying to attack the devotees are always protected. My Guru Maharaj, he says that there is not a single thing or entity that can come and attack this Krishna consciousness movement. Not possible. As long as the devotees are chanting and having loving relationship with them, nothing can disturb this movement. Only one thing can disturb this movement and our consciousness. when we don't have good relationship with devotees, and when we are having envious tendencies, trying to pull down a devotee, trying to say something about a devotee, that is how Maya or demoniac tendencies can come and attack a devotee. That is the only thing that can attack a devotee. Because there even Krishna cannot give protection. Krishna otherwise will give all protection to us, as long as we are trying to surrender to him. Surrender means simply following his instructions as given in Bhagavad Gita. And the Vedas provide the knowledge by which we can understand Krishna. The devotees of Krishna are always ready to spread knowledge by which one may understand the Lord through Krishna consciousness. But the demons, being unable to understand the Supreme Lord, are full of ignorance and passion. Prabhupada writes, this is very important for us to meditate. By culturing the mode of goodness, one can understand the position of the Supreme Lord and how the Lord is always spread to remove all obstacles on the path of understanding Him. Unless and until we are on the platform of Sattva, very difficult to understand Krishna, not possible. Because in passion and ignorance, Krishna explains all the qualities and the side effects of being in Rajas and Tamas. It's very difficult to have our mind and consciousness tuned to the frequency to be able to understand the instructions and pastimes of Krishna. Very difficult. So we have to somehow or the other always keep ourselves on the platform of Sattva. The type of prasadam we eat, the type of devotees we converse with, what we hear, what we see. Today, mobile phone is our worst enemy, like His Grace Vrindavan Prabhuji said. We don't have to search for like the mantra. He gave the example of mantra from Ramayana, and he said we don't have to search for mantra anywhere. We are carrying mantra every day. Every moment that mantra is with us. Cell phone, right? We should be very cautious with what we are dealing with, even with cell phone. And in text 38, Sri Prahlad Maharaj is saying, in this way, my Lord, you appear in various incarnations as human being, animal, great saint, demigod, fish or tortoise, thus maintaining the entire creation in different planetary systems and killing the demoniac principles. And in the end of the translation, it is said, in the age of Kali, however, you do not assert yourself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore you are known as Three Yuga, or the Lord who appears in three yugas. It's one of our favorite verses for many of us. This verse is quoted in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita in a conversation between Sri Sarvam Bhattacharya and Sri Gopinath Acharya. When Sri Sarvam Bhattacharya is a big Vedantist and he is not ready to accept Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Lord, and Gopinath Acharya quotes this verse. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, in all the yugas but Kali Yuga, the Lord appears in various incarnations and asserts himself as the Supreme God. In all the yugas, Satya, Treta, Dwapar, Krishna comes personally and he tells that I am God. But although Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who appears in Kali Yuga is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he never asserted himself as such. Mahaprabhu never declared himself outside general public that I am Krishna. He did not. On the contrary, whenever Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was addressed as being as good as Krishna, he would block his ears with his hands and he will shout Vishnu, 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 denying his identity with Krishna because he was playing the part of a devotee. Because Mahaprabhu didn't come to show himself as God. He came in the garb of a devotee. Lord Chaitanya knew that in Kali Yuga there would be many bogus incarnations pretending to be God, and therefore he avoided asserting himself as Krishna. And he came along with his Parshad. Sangopangastra Parshadam. Parshad means along with his intimate associates. Krishna is never alone. Once there was a Srila Prabhupada disciple, this happened maybe 4 or 5 years ago. We had to go and pick him from Potomac Temple, and he was coming. You see how Krishna conscious they are. And they saw a small imitation a figurine of Krishna in the car that we were driving, and Krishna was standing alone. And he said, Krishna is never alone. You should at least have a cow next to Krishna. He is never alone. Right? Krishna is never alone. He is always with his devotees, dear devotees. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu being non-different from Krishna, he is not alone. Therefore, one who tries to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, through the medium of the Sankirtan movement, knows everything perfectly. He is Sumedha Saha, a person with substantial intelligence. In text 39, this is one of the highlight verses today in text 39. Sri Prahlad Maharaj is showing signs of humility. He is saying that, my dear Lord of Vaikuntha planets, where there is no anxiety, my mind is extremely sinful and lusty. Prahlad Maharaj is praying like this. My mind is full of lamentation, fear, and it always seeks more and more money. Thus, it has become most polluted and it is never satisfied in topics concerning you. I am therefore most fallen and poor. In such status of life, how, Hare Krishna, how shall I be able to discuss your activities? So Sri Prahlad Maharaj is saying the cause of forgetfulness of Krishna. Whenever we are not able to remember Krishna, these are the reasons that Sri Prahlad Maharaj is telling. Prabhupada writes in the purport that Prahlad Maharaj is always situated in Vaikuntha planets of the spiritual world, but on behalf of the fallen souls like us, he asks how, when his mind is always disturbed by material things, he can discuss the transcendental position of the Lord. The mind becomes sinful because we are always engaged in sinful activities. Anything not connected with Krishna consciousness should be understood to be sinful. This is such a statement Srila Prabhupada is making for us to meditate on today. That if my mind is not thinking of Krishna, it is sinful. In one of the Chatushloki Bhagavatam verses that Lord Vishnu speaks, he mentions anything that is not connected with me is, you should understand, it is an act of my illusory energy. And that is sinful. If our mind is not favorably thinking of Krishna, we are definitely doing something sinful. So as soon as one surrenders onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, Krishna immediately relieves one of the reactions of sinful activities. Therefore, one who is not surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord should be understood to be sinful, foolish, degraded among men, and bereft of all real knowledge because of atheistic propensities. Therefore, especially in this age of Kali, the mind must be cleansed, and this is possible only by the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Srila Prabhupada writes, our heart must be cleansed. In this age, the process of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the only method by which we are able to cleanse our sinful mind. Our mind, if we give a single moment, our mind will cheat us. We should not give any free time to our mind. My Guru Maharaj, he says, free time is very dangerous. Our mind, like the famous saying, idle mind is a devil's workshop. We should keep our mind so busy in some limbo bhakti. Even if we don't have taste for chanting, we should keep ourselves connected to Krishna always. When the mind is completely cleansed of all sinful reactions, one can then understand his duty in the form of human life. Srila Prabhupada is writing. And the Krishna consciousness movement is meant to educate sinful men so that they can become pious simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mantra. Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gatiranyata. And please pay attention to this brilliant statement that Srila Prabhupada is going to make for us to meditate for our entire lifetime. To cleanse the heart so that one may become sober and wise in this age of Kali, there is no value to any method other than the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. In essence, what Srila Prabhupada is telling is that if you are practicing bhakti for some time, chanting Hare Krishna, serving Vaishnava, serving the spiritual master, serving the moment in whatever capacity we have, time should come, Srila Prabhupada is saying, we should become sober, meaning we should realize that there is nothing else other than chanting of the holy names. This is Prabhupada's statement. We cannot deny his statement. Prahlad Maharaj has confirmed this process in previous verses. Prahlad Maharaj further confirms that if one's mind is always absorbed in thought of Krishna, that very qualification will purify one and keep one purified always. Right? The temple devotees recite this, right? I forgot that verse. That simply by chanting Krishna, Om Pavitra Pavitro Va Sarvavastam Gatopi Va Yasmare Pundarikaksham Sa Abhaya Vyantara Suchi. That if anybody thinks of Krishna with a good intent, that we become purified inward and outward. That is what Srila Prabhupada is writing. Our consciousness become purified simply by remembering Krishna. To understand the Lord and his activities, one must free his mind from all contamination of the material world, and this one can achieve by simply chanting the holy names of the Lord. If you don't have time to do any other limb of bhakti, we should simply start chanting the holy name of the Lord. Mahaprabhu tells this. Of all the processes, Mahaprabhu says the 9 processes of bhakti is the most important. And of all the 9 processes, Tara Madhye Sarvashreshta Nama Sankirtan Niraparade Namalayale Pabe Premadan. Mahaprabhu tells this. Simply by chanting the holy name without offenses, Mahaprabhu says we will get love for Krishna. Simply by chanting holy names. So we should give utmost importance to chanting the holy names. And in text 40, Mahaprabhu, Srila Prabhupada says the human form of life is meant for God realization, but this process which begins with Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, hearing and chanting of the holy names of the Lord, is disturbed as long as our senses are materially attracted. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying, is again exhibiting his humility and giving us instructions that as long as we are materially attracted, we will not have taste for hearing and chanting about Lord Vishnu. Therefore, devotional service means purifying our senses. In the conditioned state, our senses are always covered by material sense gratification, and as long as one is not trained in purifying senses, one cannot become a devotee. Training is necessary for us. We cannot do this by ourselves. That's why we need a guru. A guru is there to train us, discipline us. Otherwise, we cannot become disciple. I remember His Grace Jai Gaurasundar Prabhuji, when we used to always meet him, he used to always say, disciple means discipline. And only with such discipline, we can get trained by Guru. In our Krishna consciousness movement, therefore, we advise from the beginning that one restrict the activities of the senses, especially the tongue. Like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, most greedy and unconquerable. So we should control our tongue by eating only what is needed, only Krishna Prasadam. Even the drinking of tea and coffee is not permitted. Similarly, our genitals must be restricted from illicit sex. Without such restraint of senses, one cannot make advancement in Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada is saying the only method of controlling senses is to chant and hear the holy name of the Lord. Prabhupada is time and again giving stress on chanting of the holy name. That is why Prabhupada made this morning program of giving out of 4.5 hours of the morning program. Almost more than 50% is given importance for chanting the holy name. 2 hours minimum of chanting holy name in the morning. Otherwise, one will always be disturbed as a householder with more than one wife would be disturbed by them for sense gratification. Prahlad Maharaj is giving analogy that a man is disturbed if he has more than one wife. Similarly, our mind will also be disturbed if we are not giving importance for chanting the holy name in the morning time. And in text 41, Prahlad Maharaj, Prabhupada writes, Prahlad Maharaj, a pure Vaishnava, prays to the Lord not only for himself but also for other suffering living entities. He is saying that I am only concerned about the suffering living entities in this world. He is not concerned about going back home, back to Godhead. Prabhupada writes there are two categories of devotees, Bhajananandis and Goshanandis. Bhajanandis worship the Lord for their own personal benefit, but the Goshanandis try to elevate all others to Krishna consciousness so that they may be saved. Fools who cannot perceive repeated birth and death and other miseries of materialistic life cannot be sure of what will happen to them in the next life. A Vaishnava is always afraid of such an abominable life, and to free himself from such horrible conditions, he engages himself in devotional service. The Lord is compassionate to them, and therefore he appears for their benefit. So, Vaishnava's first business is to keep ourselves engaged in bhakti before reaching ourselves to others. Because if we are not soaking ourselves in bhakti, then what we have to give others? There will be no potency. Because the potency flows through the parampara. We have no ability to give anything to anybody, right? The potency flows through the parampara. The Lord is always ready to help the fallen souls, but because they are fools and rascals, they do not take to Krishna consciousness and abide by the instructions of Krishna. Therefore, although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally, the Lord, Supreme Lord Krishna, he becomes a devotee to preach Krishna consciousness movement. Prabhupada is writing. Mahaprabhu also came to give Krishna consciousness to others. Yare deka tare kaha Krishna upadesh. One must therefore become a sincere servant of Krishna. Amara agya guru hai tare desh. One should become a guru and spread Krishna consciousness all over the world simply by preaching the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna upadesh means Bhagavad Gita. You should not give very high things to people. Either there will be any potency in whatever we are trying to repeat the words of the acharyas, or there will be any transformation in the people to whom we are speaking. Srila Prabhupada writes in a purport in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita that we should not speak about Radha Krishna in public. Mahaprabhu never spoke about Radha Krishna in public. So we should follow the words of Acharya, otherwise it becomes Namaprad. Second offense. One should become a guru and spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. In text 42, here the words Priyajanan indicate Priyajanan Anu Sevatam Na indicate that the Supreme Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead is very favorable to devotees who act according to the instructions of his pure devotee. This is a very important purport. Prabhupada is writing, Krishna is not very much pleased if we just follow his instructions. But if we follow the instructions of his pure devotee, oh, Krishna becomes very pleased. Prabhupada is writing, in other words, one must become the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. If one wants to become the servant of the Lord directly, this is not as fruitful as engaging in the service of the Lord's servant. This is the direction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who shows us the way to become Gopi Partuhu Padakamalayur Das Anudas. One should not be proud of becoming directly the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rather, one must seek a pure devotee, a servant of the Lord, and engage oneself in service of such a servant. The more one becomes a servant of the servant, the more one becomes perfect in devotional service. This is also the injunction of Bhagavad Gita. Evam parampara praptam imam rajashrayo viduhu. One can understand the science of the Supreme Personality of Godhead simply by the parampara system. And Srila Prabhupada quotes Srila Narottama Das Thakur, Taderasa charana sevi bhakta sanevas. Let me serve the lotus feet of the devotees of the Lord and let me live the devotees. Jana me jane me hai. Eya Vilash. Following Srila Narottama Das Thakur, one should aspire to be the servant of the Lord's servant life after life. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur also sings, Tumi to takura, tomara kukura, baliya jana hamore. Oh my Lord, oh Vaishnava, please consider me your dog. One must become the dog of a Vaishnava, pure devotee, for a pure devotee can deliver Krishna without difficulty. Krishna se tomar, Krishna dite paro. Krishna is the property of his pure devotee. And if he takes shelter of a pure devotee, he can deliver Krishna very easily. Prahlad wants to engage in the service of a devotee and therefore he prays to Krishna, my dear Lord, give me the shade of your shelter of your dear devotee so that I may engage in his service and you may be then pleased. Srila Prabhupada quotes, Mad Bhakta Puja Abhyadika. The Lord says, engaging in the service of my devotee is better than trying to engage in my devotional service. Another significant point in this verse is that by devotional service, Prahlad Maharaj does not want to benefit alone. Rather, he prays to the Lord that all the fallen souls in this material world may, by the grace of the Lord, engage in the service of his servant and thus be delivered. So, this is the crux of Srila Prahlad Maharaj's teaching today, that we cannot approach Krishna directly, not possible. We have to go through his pure devotee. In text 43, it is said, "O best," that is why we need a guru in this world, who is a pure devotee of Krishna. "O best of the great personalities, I am not at all afraid of material existence. For wherever I stay, I am fully absorbed in thoughts of your glories and activities. My concern is only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness." Prahlad Maharaj is, again, he is showing compassion. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is writing, there is a plan for material nature, personally known as Durga, to punish the demons. Although the Asuras, the godless demons, struggle for existence, they are directly attacked by Goddess Durga, who is well equipped with the 10 hands with different types of weapons to punish them. She is carried by her lion carrier or the modes of passion and ignorance. Everyone struggles very hard to fight through the modes of passion and ignorance. There is a river known as Vaitarani between the material and the spiritual worlds, and one must cross this river to reach the other side of the spiritual world. And Prabhupada is saying this is a very difficult task. We cannot assert ourselves. That is why in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita it is explained that all other forms of yoga is depending on oneself. Karma yoga, dhyana yoga, ashtanga yoga, any other form of yoga, we are depending on ourselves. And with such a state of consciousness, it is very difficult to cross Vaitarani, the border of the spiritual world, not possible. And Srila Prabhupada is quoting, what is the way? From Bhagavad Gita. Daivi esha gunamayi mama maya duratya mam eva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. Mam eva ye prapadyante. By Krishna's, if we surrender to Krishna, then we can cross this border of the material world. And in the last verse, I'm sorry I went over because this is too many things that Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport. In the last verse, Prabhupada writes, this is the decision of a Vaishnava, the pure devotee of the Lord. For him, he has no problems. Even if he has to stay in this material world, because his only business is to remain in Krishna consciousness. Because Prahlad Maharaj says, he is one of the Mahajans. He's saying that I'm not too much worried if I have to stay here, because I'm always absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna. When Sri Prahlad Maharaj was tortured by Narasimhadev, our Acharya's comment that how was it possible for him to not be disturbed by even fire, by huge elephants, by being thrown from the top of a hill? 5-year-old boy. How is it possible? Because he was in Samadhi. He was constantly remembering and chanting his Ishtadev's holy names, Narasimhadev. Right? The Krishna conscious person can never even go to hell and still be happy. Can go to hell and still be happy. Srila Prabhupada quotes 6th Canto, Narayana para sarve na kutaschana vidyati swarga apavarga narakeshu api tulyartha darshinaha. Devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of Lord Narayana, Supreme Personality of Godhead, never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and hellish planets are the same. For such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. Just like Srila Prabhupada, he didn't want to come to the West. He knew the West is a hellish place. So Prabhupada writes, somebody asked him, Prabhupada says in one of his classes, somebody asked him, how does hell look? This was asked when Prabhupada was in Britain. And Prabhupada says, why do you have to go and search for hell? We are in hell. The reporters were confused. What are you saying? He said, wherever there is no sun, it is as good as hell. Which is true. Right? And Prabhupada writes that the devotee has no such interest to become happy in this material world. We do not teach one to meditate in a secluded place just so that one may show that he has become very much advanced and be proud of his so-called transcendental meditation, although he engages in all sorts of foolish materialistic activity. A Vaishnava like Prahlad Maharaj is not interested in such bluff of spiritual advancement. Rather, he is interested in enlightening people in Krishna consciousness because that is the only way for them to become happy. And the last highlight of this purport, one wanders within the universe life after life, but by the grace of a devotee, Guru, a servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one can get the clue to Krishna consciousness, and then not only one can become happy in this material world, but also return back home, back to Godhead. That is the real target of life. Prabhupada stating. Thus, the members of the Krishna consciousness movement are not at all interested in so-called meditation in the Himalayas or the forest, where one will make a show of meditation, nor are they interested in opening many schools for yoga and meditation in the cities. Rather, every member of Krishna consciousness movement is interested in going door to door. All glories to all the devotees of Baltimore. Going door to door to try to convince people about the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. That is the purpose of the Hare Krishna movement. The members of the Hare Krishna consciousness movement must be fully convinced that without Krishna one cannot be happy. Thus, the Krishna conscious person avoids all kinds of pseudo spiritualists. We don't want to go near them. Transcendentalists, meditators, monists, philosophers, and philanthropists. We only want to be with devotees. Hare Krishna. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. I'm sorry I went few minutes over, but there are just too many things that had to be discussed. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.